Phil Nichols, Chris Evans with you. Time now to take a look at some of the rivals, the top rivals in the state of Oklahoma. And really, Phil, when I thought of doing this, I really thought, man, I'm going to have like 20, 25 of these things to break down to 5. There really wasn't that many that there was a lot less than I thought.
That jump out at
correct.
you.
That jumped out. So we're going to ask you again, if you're watching our YouTube feed or our Facebook page, to give us your top rivals in the state of Oklahoma. And there's some I'm trying to say. Number one is going to be no surprise. I think number one should be on everyone's list. But let's go ahead and dive into it here, Phil, as far as the top 5 rivals in the state of Oklahoma. We both went Union and Jinx for number one. And obviously all the state championships. I mean, ESPN did a documentary on the series. 20,000 people at the football games when they play at Chapman Stadium.
A little hard to argue with
the Division I athletes all over the place. Yep. So it's
yeah, and I encourage, and that's the last thing you said is really key because, we cover a lot of 5A football.
Right.
And then we're very fortunate at the end of the year we get to, at least last year, we get to call the state championship games, and that's been a real honor for us and fun.
Nice reward.
And it's nice to be able to see those kids. There is a significant difference in the skill set and in 6A1 to 5A. It's significant. And it just puts some things into context for you. If all you ever watch is 5A or 4, I'm not saying there's not great players
like
in
Kendall
5A
at Beggs.
Right.
He stood out.
Yeah, he's a freak. He'd stand out anywhere. Yeah, but he's one kid.
Right.
Jinx and Union play, there's 15 of those cats on the field running around. Yeah. So, I mean, the
linemen look different.
They look different, and there's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
they do look different.
There's guys standing on the side, and you're going, how in the daylights is he's a senior and he's not on the field?
Yeah.
It's just so it's a different deal.
Remember when Stigler wanted to play Bixby for 3 minutes?
That we had ourselves.
I'll never forget that.
We had ourselves togged into it that was a great thing.
Yeah.
And then we kind of caught ourselves and said, no, wait a second, we need to think this through. This is a terrible idea.
Stigler class 3A.
Yeah.
Last year with the COVID reasons, it was this week, I think.
Yeah, it was. I think it was.
Stigler said, we popped in your game film and said, you know what?
We'll pass.
We'll pass. So, anyway. All right, so we have Union Jinx number 1. Number 2, Guthrie, Carl Albert. We both have that as number 2.
Yeah, and people can homer me all day on this. I'm telling you, these are you got to experience them to fully appreciate them. I think this game, and there's been years over there where you showed up at 4:00 in the afternoon and the parking lot was full. You had tailgate parties going on, people everywhere. It was nuts. And so it's definitely a solid number 2 for me.
And there was a time there where Guthrie had the upper hand in the series.
Yeah, big time.
So with all the district, it always came down to district championships, state championships. Of course, Carver's won the last 5. Guthrie's won 4 state championships since 2002. The crowds are large. That's some of the largest crowds that you can have at a normal high school football stadium in your 5A, 4A, 3A level. So we have Guthrie, Carl Albert, number 2. So we differ a little bit. Nope, we're the same on number 3. We both went with Douglas and Millwood, and they get their own day. They get to play on Saturday.
Yeah, it's big time. And look at some of the athletes that have played in that game. There's been tremendous athletes over the years that have played in that game, and of course, Millwood's on a little bit of a roll right now.
Yeah, they've won 6 in a row in that series there.
Definitely.
So in the Soul Bowl there, but Ricky Hunt Jr., one of the big names for Millwood this year. But and since the coach left Douglas, and I'm drawing a blank on his name right now.
I actually talked to him in Guthrie. He was at a restaurant right when they had their little thing.
Right.
And super nice guy. I cannot recall his name, but great coach too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so Phil and I, we agree on the top 3: Union Jinx, Carl Albert Guthrie, Douglas Millwood. We differ a little bit here. Number 4, I went with the Battle of the Bishops.
Yeah.
Bishop McGinnis, Bishop Kelly. Usually very entertaining ball game.
Usually,
really good. I mean, it's usually like a top last 5, 8 years, 10 years, whatever it is, have been a top 5 matchup between these two programs. This year they were both looking for their first victory. McGinnis we'll talk about here in a little bit. Dominated early and often in that one. McGinnis won that one. But Battle of the Bishops, they travel up and down the turnpike, and it's always a good matchup.
If we were doing a top 10, they'd definitely be in my top 10. They're probably 6 or 7 for me. But again, goes back to, you look at my picks, you can kind of see I have a little bit of a soft spot for the small schools.
Your number 4, Phil. You went with Crescent Cash and Highway 74 battle.
Highway 74 battle, just a few miles part the two districts. And
well, Cashin would go, well, they got to win every now and then to be a rival.
Well, yeah, they would. They would, until Cashin's down again. And trust me, all football programs have ebb and flow.
Yep.
But it's the communities. It's just the talking back and forth. All the stuff. It's a true rivalry game.
Yeah.
A true rivalry game.
Both teams located in Logan County, separated by 10 miles.
10 miles or so.
10 miles or so. So number 5, I went with Mustang Yukon, the Canadian County. Mustang Yukon, the 2 largest schools on the west side. For number 5 for you, you went out to Western Oklahoma, Weatherford, Clinton.
Yeah, and I think you looked it up. I think they played 75 years or something like
75
that.
75 times.
I think it is. But
Clinton's won a lot of those.
Yeah,
I think 55.
Yeah, to 20 some or whatever. But it's
2 good programs.
2 good programs, and again, it's that rivalry, not far apart between Clinton and Weatherford, and the communities, and again, the small towns, to me, make Friday night football games.
Yep.
I mean, that's what makes it special. You can have the $35 million paint jobs, and you can have the
20,000 people in the stands,
right, and all that, and that's all cool.
Yep,
it's all cool.
It's cool in
a different way.
Yep.
But I'm telling you, there's something about small town football on Friday nights that it just feels different.
We got to follow Crescent, as you mentioned in the last segment, in 2017, and it was from home games to games in Alva.
Yeah,
I mean, they packed it over in Alva, so it was good time
awesome.
There. So those are our top 5. Chris and Phil agree on top 3. Union Jinx 1, Guthrie Carl 2, Douglas Millwood 3. Chris went with McGinnis Kelly 4. That's me. 5, third person. Number 5, Mustang Yukon. Phil went with number 4, Crescent Cashin. Number 5, Weatherford Clinton. Then you have Hominy Cleveland, who have played for 100 years.
100 years.
That make the list. Jennifer Russell watching. Thank you, Jen. Watching on Facebook. She goes Midwest City, Del City.
Yeah.
Mid-Del. That's a good one.
Could definitely be on there. I think, there's, in recent years, you could put Bixby and Stillwater on there somewhere. You could put
Bixby Choctaw is trying to come into one.
Bixby Choctaw is coming into one. You could put Stillwater, Midwest City. I mean, there's a lot of great rivalries out there that mean a lot to those communities. It's just when you put 5, you got to pick 5.
Yep,
it gets tough.
Then Nathan, he has his top 5 list: 1, Jinx Union; 2, Douglas Millwood; 3, Guthrie Carl Albert; 4, Mustang Yukon; 5, Phil and the Sandwich Lady.
I don't think I could whip her. She did not back up an inch. She actually was mocking me with the sandwich at one point.